production company by the name of Highmind. We're producing upcoming Witcher television series at Netflix. Scary Ghost in the Dark with CBS. Just launched a trailer yesterday. It's awesome. The Expanse. Upcoming stuff, Keating Falls, EC Comics, Weird Fantasy, Bloodshot, the movie, which is amazing. That's it? That's me?
And
no, I skipped it.
Now who doesn't?
I bought a comic book at the show. I bought a Hulk 181. I'm very proud of it. It's the first Chris Wolverine if anyone didn't know. It's in my bag. I'm not table my bag.
Hey, it's great to see you guys. Thank you for having me. My name is BP. I run creative at a company called Propagate Content. We produce and create television shows around the world. Everything from Charmed on the CW, Blood and Treasure at CBS. I created a show called Haunted for Netflix. At Amazon, I created a show called Bored that's adopted from a podcast of the same name. Myself and our company has adapted more podcasts to television than any other company in the world. We do everything from highly scripted stuff like I mentioned to lots of different documentary programming. We did Apple's first show, Planet of the Apps, that unfortunately no one saw. That did a lot of fun and helped accelerate them, investing and creating new entertainment television of their own. And I created a show called Face Off that ran for a really long time in sci-fi and started my career ages ago in special effects and makeup. So in the past week, I would say I really love the new OA. If anyone got to see season 2, I really love what Zhao and his team are doing, and I'm excited to speak with you all. I also want to say this is a really exclusive event, so all of you should be really excited to be here. Thank you.
awesome. Cool. All right, so I want to find out from the audience what you are interested in. You actually talk about what your favorite show is, the OA. I want to find out what your favorite shows are too. Because we're talking about screenings, let's go to audience participation right at the beginning, because I like to break the fourth wall, much like that role, though, with less swearing. So, why don't you tell us your name and what is your favorite show and your favorite streaming service?
I'm Ted Burgess. I guess my favorite show that's sometimes running is Better Call Saul. And I'm afraid I'm kind of streaming it illiterate.
Okay.
I use a TV set that's so old it can't stream.
Awesome. Well, we're going to talk about how to stream and getting on the streaming service. Anyone wants to do a shout out? How are you?
Sure. Hi, my name is Matt. My favorite show right now, actually Expanse is one of them.
All right.
And my wife and I wrote on a show called Mystery Science Theater 3 Fantasy.
Whoa. Welcome to the audience as well. I thought I could do this. How about yourselves?
My name's Jill. My favorite show of all time is Batman the Animated Series.
Nice.
And my favorite streaming service is Disney Plus.
All right.
That's what I
We're going to talk about that.
Do you work for Disney? Is that my guess?
Well, we're right to the audience about people who are totally
Hashtag sponsored post.
Oh gosh, my current favorite TV show is The Expanse. And I'm totally gonna pick you out because it's gonna be awesome.
All right, cool.
By the way, Mystery Science Theater 3000 rounds too.
Yeah.
All right, yes.
I'm like, yes.
Over here, what's your favorite streaming service and favorite streaming show? All right, all right, let's go over here to the back row because you can. Yeah, back row people, back row people. All right, now what's your favorite streaming service and your favorite show?
I'm such an oldie. I'm going through the Dick Van Dyke Show consistently and the Mary Tyler Moore Show. So I'm on Hulu. I just love Hulu right now.
That's great, that's great. Good diverse audience. Diverse viewing habits.
We're all here because we're Twitch people as well, so as far as live streaming, but otherwise,
Twitch will be your creators or you work at Twitch?
yes, great. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, cool.
Yeah.
This is the Twitch part.
Does anyone here not work in streaming? That's you.
The guy who runs the town.
Izzy,
Hi.
favorite streaming service and favorite show?
Netflix and I have too many. I don't know.
List, all right, list the top 3.
Well, right now we have binging Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because it's tomorrow. So I need to prepare.
Catch up, all right.
Yeah, I gotta catch up. Game of Thrones. And
Okay, awesome. All right, cool. Anyone else have a passion to give a shout out for their streaming service or show that we have?
I'll give a shout out to Young Justice.
Okay, got it. Young
Young
Justice.
Justice with DC, especially since the fans are able to bring it back.
Okay, got it. All right, cool. All right, over here.
Usually use Netflix, but my favorite show is The Good Place. And also
Oh, yes, that's pretty good. You go through the taste of the years.
Okay, so streaming service, probably either Amazon Prime or Netflix. I watch a lot of both, and I've actually been watching more recently.
All right, excellent. All right, excellent. So thanks so
Started
much.
season 2. Season 2 did not get a fair shake. It's an incredible show. But I'm really proud of that season, so I'd love to hear what you think.
Awesome. So that was a fun exercise for a couple of reasons. One is we get to actually ask what your favorite streaming service is. Unlike in the movie world, if you ask them what their favorite movie studio is, people might be like, I don't know, I just watched the movies. But actually, people have an affinity and know streaming service because they are known for certain types of shows, and also because you actually have to buy something and you have a subscription every month for most of them, and so you get that bill. So you actually know the name. But yeah, so people have an affinity and they know the streaming services, and you all were able to come up with a show very easily. I don't know if you got the streaming service because of that show, but we also often find that in digital content, kind of the streaming services are selected based on what content they have. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So what are some of the top 2 or 3 trends that you guys are seeing in streaming overall? It's a world where we have Netflix is strong in it. They've invested, what, $6 billion in acquiring content. Amazon Studios is in it for real. Both studios did very well at the Emmys and at the Oscars, so with some of their shows. And then we have new entrants like Disney Plus coming in the fall. Hey Disney Plus, give me a shout out. That's Disney Plus talking about. And then there's things like Hulu, which have a lot of library of content that people love, as was mentioned. And then there's also new streaming content, including things like everything from streaming on Facebook Live and live shows, which we can talk about too, to Twitch, which is gaming streaming content. So what are some of the trends that you're seeing? And we'll get into some details on why you've actually done.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of think, you're going to see a lot of new entrants like the Disney Plus, but I think one of the big things that you're going to start seeing is a lot of consolidation, because there's like over 300 OTT and streaming services right now, right? So what's going to happen is larger ones are going to start buying up the smaller ones to grow even further. They're going to start super serving their fans. So you mentioned Young Justice, right? So the DC app, right? So now DC Universe has not just video, but they have digital comics. I think if you're a member, you also get like a discount to their stores and maybe like Six Flags or something like that as well. So I think probably, Disney Plus is going to have something similar, right? Discounts on merchandise, and it's going to be more than just a video streaming service, and that's kind of one of the things that, like being a digital comics platform ourselves, that we're working on those partnerships with all these other services who are looking to compete in such a crowded marketplace. So if you're a fan, it's a great time. I should preface, it's about to be a great time, because right now I know a lot of people are super pissed about paying like $10 for this, $10 for that, and it just keeps adding up and adding up and adding up, but eventually that's all going to get consolidated, hopefully, again. And saying it out loud makes it seem like we might just wind up like with cable again. But like just, it's going to be a different thing, and it's going to be more than just video.
All right, so that's a great question. How many streaming services do you currently subscribe to? Currently? Who has one streaming service? It's Netflix. Everything like is based on Netflix, you pick Netflix or Hulu. Okay, who has 2 streaming services that you subscribe to?
Should we include the passwords of our friends that we have?
Only ones that you currently pay for, not the ones that you bought from your roommate or your boyfriend or girlfriend. Okay, so who has 2 services that you actually pay for? Hands high, hands high. Okay, 3, who has 3 services that they pay for? Okay, I gotcha. 4, who has 4 services that they pay for? Wow, we have some diehard streamers here. I'm really curious. Let's keep going. Who has 5? You have 5 streaming services. Wow, who has 6? Okay, so 5, this is really cool. I want to publish this. You have 7? Okay, we're going to have to go to the audience again and have you announce 7. Can you please stand up? You win the contest. What are your 7?
Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, DC, CBS, Twitch, and I'm missing something else. I just can't.
Spotify or Apple Music?
Spotify.
Yeah, forget the counts. Don't leave out music, guys. Spotify counts.
Spotify.
Hulu?
Yeah.
That's our YouTube guy?
I mean, like, for kind of music, like, I mean, just forget it. Right?
Okay, okay. Alright, got it. Alright, so you probably pay like, what, $100 a month, maybe or more? In streaming. So it sounds like most people have. What's that? Oh, okay, got it. Alright, so if you add up all that, how much is that per month? It's probably like what, $120? Which is about what a, it's about cable. So we're moving toward, I guess what the cable world is, where everyone's used to paying $120 for cable. So that could be where we're going as a consolidation occurs.
So, but on that, so when you subscribe to Crunchyroll, do you have the VRV subscription as well? Do you get the video content that's not Crunchyroll?
I do.
So,
No, I just have Crunchyroll.
okay, so but for example like that, so there's another tier with Crunchyroll where you subscribe and you can get it's like Boomerang, which is like kids cartoons, and then there's I think either Nat Geo or Discovery. Yeah, it's like a horror channel, so but it's a ton more video content that's not necessarily anime, but like what they're doing, and I mean, for people who don't know, they're under Warner Brothers right now, AT&T, like this big, massive conglomerate, so they can afford to kind of like lose a little bit of money in order to bring all this content under one umbrella, and that's an example of what I think we're going to be seeing more of.
Okay, so consolidation and having other things happening with your service, not just content, whether it's subscriptions or
not just video
not just video content,
yeah.
other things too. Correct. All right, so what are your top 2 or 3 trends? Or your top 2 or 3 previous services. We didn't get to what you guys do. All right, yes.
Which one? Streaming services or trends?
Let's do trends.
Trends. Interactive storytelling. See, it's like the Bandersnatch thing. You know, I mean, Netflix has built a whole, in order to do Bandersnatch, they built a whole back-end system where they're working on more content in that way. Amazon is right on the heels.
We have a show coming out on Netflix with Bear Grylls. It's their first, it's basically a choose your own adventure interactive piece on Netflix with Bear Grylls. It's coming out in a couple weeks, I think.
Okay, great. So not just having content go one way like we're so used to in the cable world, but actually using the internet for interactivity. And actually having people interact or having a choose your own adventure or some other way.
I think it's, I mean, you guys probably know, if you work at the streamers, it's a function of how do we maintain people, how do we expand the amount of the hours of content we have in order to keep a subscription without having to continually create new content. If you build interactive storytelling, you're paying once, but they can view it multiple times.
Cool.
As a different experience.
Anything else that you're seeing? Other trends?
Other trends, anthologies, a lot of anthologies. I think it's the same kind of thing.
Okay.
Be able to mix and match the order you watch it.
Okay. Got it. Cool. Nice. All right. And
I'm seeing all kinds of trends. I think, what I like is that we're living in a place where fans like me and you can have a voice and have an impact on what we're seeing. When I was a kid, I never liked stuff that was popular. I was more shy than I am now, and I always found I responded to stuff that most people didn't like. When I was a kid, comic books weren't very cool. Sorry, my tile is ringing. Comic books weren't very cool, so it was hard to find comic book movies. Now there's been such an explosion that I think, somebody mentioned Mystery Science Theater. They tried to do it a couple of years ago, and unfortunately, it didn't catch on. So I think there's a trend to go after the bigger, most popular IP ever, which is great in some ways, because we're getting such a cascade of new formats that we've grown up loving, but I think it's going to make it harder in the future for things that are a little bit more niche to kind of rise up. We're also seeing a trend.
does it have to rise up? A niche can just be fine by itself,
Well,
right? You tell your friends,
It could be.
and
It could be,
your
but-
friends find out about it.
It could be, but we have to make television shows that cost millions of dollars. So the way that those decisions are being made more and more is through data, right? So we're seeing a trend with Netflix where they're not investing in shows beyond season 2 or season 3. I know for my favorite shows, like I want to see season 15. I don't want it to stop. And I think it's going to be harder and harder for new shows to continue on, in the future for season.
I know there's a lot of people who are very upset that one day at a time the CBS streaming show with the Latino family, Cuba Latino announced that it was not being renewed after I think a very successful 3 seasons. Successful in the fact that it's a representation, but I guess not successful enough for the numbers.
Yeah.
So
And I think it's easier as cablers with this all consolidation. I mean, I hate talking about the industry side of it because really who cares, right? We just want cool stuff. I want to find it easier. I want it to be cheaper. I want more tacos. But there is more stuff that's available, and I think I love it as a show creator and EP. I love it when people interact with me, people that I don't know. I'm always curious what they think about it.
How? Like on Twitter?
Twitter is a big way. A lot of people reach out to me on Twitter or on Instagram. I love it when people, even if people are like, hey, you're an idiot, your show sucks. I love it when they reach out. Like, I rarely get those messages, but I think it's cool. There was an episode last year of Haunted that sort of went viral, and a lot of people thought that the show was fake because one of the stories was about a serial killer that was real, and like thousands of people reached out to me about that. And I thought that that was so cool. And in the 90s, like, you would have had to like physically written a letter.
Right.
So I love that there's this trend of fan engagement that we've never had in the past.
How many people in the audience have treated a content creator? All right, cool. And content creators, because there are several in the audience, how many of you regularly engage with your fans? All right, that's cool. Cool. So yeah, it's definitely a big part of it now, is engaging with your fans and keeping up that online community, talking about the show. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. Any questions so far about the top trends that we're seeing? All right, cool.
Not everyone all at once, please.
Let's continue. Normally people like have to see my questions till the end, so I like to break it up as you can see. All right, so content. All right, so Jordan, let's talk about your streaming service.
Sure.
So,
I have a question.
oh, good, yeah, got it.
So, a lot of the streaming services.
Can you stand up?
Sure. So the streaming services, a lot of them, because they don't have a traditional back end, are, you know, have a points that vest on like season 3 or something, or season 4. So it becomes incredibly expensive, it becomes exponentially more expensive to do a season 3 and season 4. Is that a model that, you know, just doesn't support then having shows that go on for a really long time as opposed to?
I don't know if it makes it more expensive to do a season 3 or season 4. It makes it much harder for, you know, a producer and people involved in the show to make more money, you know, and that's unfortunate. I was with Jeffrey Katzenberg a couple of weeks ago. He has a new platform coming out that was also going to try to get you to order. It's called Quibi. And Jeffrey, who's an incredible man, a savant, and so intelligent, said that when he was coming up in the industry, you used to be able to get both fame and fortune, and now you have to pick. But what he was trying to say is it's really hard for producers to make the kind of money that you could in the past. So, like, I don't know if you guys know what syndication is, but when I was young, the goal was to get a sold show in syndications. You would make it for as cheaply as possible, so then you'd sell it all around the world and make, you know, hundreds of millions. Those days largely are long gone. So people think that producers just make tons of money on a show even if you just get season 1. But the truth is, we try to put all that money on screen. You know, we know that the cooler it is, the better actors you can have, the better writing, the better IP, the more likely you'll get to make another one. So I hate that there's no back end. I think places like Hulu, places like Showtime are way cooler because they do allow producers like myself to control the show internationally and recoup in other ways. But I hope that trend fixes itself at places like Netflix and Disney Plus, who do have global distribution and take all the rights.
So you meant, maybe misunderstood, you meant the syndication replacement backend, which is exponentially larger as you cross seasons, correct?
Correct.
Right, so I don't know if that was clear, because I think that is the reason that we're seeing a lot of cancellations. I know the Marvel shows, for instance, were canceled largely because of that. Because the back end that is meant to replace syndication, since they don't release numbers and therefore can't openly calculate syndication residuals, is much larger after a certain threshold. I don't have the contract details, but I think it is like season 3, right?
It can go into episode count or season where like 100 episodes usually is a big indicator of syndication.
Right, which is gone now.
Yeah, largely.
And replaced the back end you're talking about. I do think it makes it very difficult, but it's going to have to change because audiences have shown historically that they want to watch long recurring shows. Someone said Breaking Bad, couldn't have a Breaking Bad today with that kind of back end. But it is a way to fight the traditional outlets. So it's probably a days long thing for streaming. I don't know how you guys are doing at Disney Plus, but I'm sure it's something you've given a lot of thought to.
I mean, I think it could be a good thing, because like, also, you know, when you watch cable, I think part of the frustration is you don't have any control, right? You can't stop the show in the middle of it and say, this sucks. And so now you can, right? So a lot of those shows that I think we grew up watching, I used to watch TV and say like, who in the hell is watching this show? It's terrible, right? And I think a lot of those shows will hopefully go away because less people are going to be watching them and they can track it. So I think that's a great trend for all of us that love content.
Cool. So Jordan, at Comic Books, you have all these comic books. How do you figure out what content to go after? Do you go after like current comic books, older comic packages, libraries, indies?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm kind of fortunate in that, you know, I started a business out of my own passion, and it grew into something that is now, you know, part of a larger company. So when I started, it was really just going after the stuff that I liked and digging into the market, seeing what else was out there, seeing, you know, for those who, are there comic book fans in here? Okay, hey, that's a lot more hands, than I thought. So Diamond Comics is the #1 distributor, and that's essentially where all the statistics come for the industry. Now, whether they're correct or not, it kind of gives us at least like a little bit of an indication of which publishers have popular content, what sells, what titles are doing well. So the way to kind of research the market is check out what's going on with Diamond, and that gives an indication of, well, Marvel Comics has the largest market share in the comics publishing world, right? I think everybody kind of understands that they're the largest publisher, but what a lot of people might not understand is that there's dozens of other publishers as well. Image Comics, for example, the home of Walking Dead, is the largest independent publisher. You have Dark Horse Comics that everybody knows Hellboy from, Valiant Comics. I'll just throw it.
It's an XML.
Yeah, see, XML more than us. But all those other publishers, it was kind of like the starting place, and it kind of all grew from there. So we have a mix of a lot of creator-owned stuff, and bye to all the Twitch people. Sorry, we weren't talking about Twitching and gaming.
We'll talk about gaming in a second. I guess we'll talk about that first. All right.
That was awesome. Yeah. They're like,
They're not a fan of Image Comics.
Disney are next.
Yeah. This isn't the streaming we thought they were going to be talking about.
Gaming, streaming content.
Yeah. Sorry, Twitch people. Yeah. No, but so for me, it was really just about learning the market, figuring out the kind of stuff that I wanted, going from there, and then actually talking to other people. Like, I'm not the biggest manga fan, but we're working on putting manga on the platform as well, because, you know, is it necessarily my cup of tea? No, but do we know that there's a market for it? I mean, like Crunchyroll, for example, has all this anime. Where's the manga? I don't know, but someone's got to do it. So we're kind of looking into that right now and seeing if we could be those people that when you think of, you know, subscription manga, you're going to go to Comic Woods for it.
Okay, cool. And kind of the reverse question, so content creators, how do you figure out what platform where a show goes on? I know you've created several shows. How do you figure out this show? Is it a Netflix show, or might be an Amazon
question.
show, or
Generally,
you know how much they give you, or what?
Yeah, you can narrow it down pretty quickly because, you know, usually channels have such a specific focus, right? You know, National Geographic, outdoor, nature, adventure. Paramount is, you know, rebranded Spike. They do a lot of stuff that appeals to 40 to 65-year-old, largely male skewing networks. So you're not going to take them like an anime or something. You know, pretty quickly, you know, the kind of shows that a program likes to channel, so that helps you narrow it down. The kind of rights that you can get. If you create a show that you can sell around the world, for instance, we do a show called Jane the Virgin. That show format originally was created in Colombia. So, you know, we knew that if we kind of rebuilt it, we could help launch in other places around the world. So you don't want to take a show like that necessarily for first window to a global distributor because you want to have rights to do it elsewhere. There's only a handful of places that you can retain rights around the world. So that has a big factor into it. Another thing that factors in is just the people, you know, like if I have a cool, weird idea, I know I need to pitch it to someone that has that sense of style and can understand your idea. You know, it's not very different from, you know, having different friends that like different types of records or different bands. Everyone has their own kind of sensibility, so you want to bring your projects to people that will relate to it and then get behind it. It's one thing to sell a show. In a marketplace like this, it's really hard to bring awareness to your shows. There's so many options out there, And what we all dream of doing as show creators is getting fans to be passionate about them, to ask you questions and, you know, want more of it. So you want to find places that will invest in marketing of the shows. If you don't have marketing nowadays, you're pretty much dead on arrival.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about marketing and social media and generating a community and awareness for your show. Like you said, there's a bunch of shows out there. Each one of you, it seemed like 2 to 4 was the number of streaming platforms or services that people used. And within each one of those, there's like thousands of shows or songs or Twitch streams to watch. How do you get?
Forget Twitch, man.
All right, Twitch guys left, so we're not going to Twitch anymore. But yeah, how do you figure out, how do you generate awareness for the show in the first place? And then how do you build a community and you know, generate like excitement and buzz so people actually start to word of mouth? Because everyone still says word of mouth is, you know, the number one way they find out about a new show. If you do most surveys of millennials or, you know, older, that's kind of how you get good buzz. How do you get that first word of mouth? How do you go from, hey, they greenlit my show when it's on. I told all my friends on my Facebook, and my family's watching it too. But what's after that?
As a creator, there's really not much that you can do. You know, we go to the network and we ask and we push and we beg for marketing support, and sometimes you get it, but largely those decisions are not controlled by the producer. So as a creator, all you can really do is make the best show that you can, and then what we all do is do exactly what you just said. We're like, hey mom, I have a show coming out. I've probably made 40 TV shows. My mom, I don't think, has ever seen any of them. But you know, you tell all your friends, and you tell all your family, and then you just leave it to the television gods.
You do the part where you actually interact with your viewers on.
Yeah, for sure, but I think, you know, I'm not, you know, it's one thing for me to tweet about a show, it's another thing for Chris Pratt or someone with, you know, huge influence in social media. So as an individual, producers generally just don't have that much push in to create awareness. So we do it through the media, and you're left at the mercy of the buyer.
Well, I think, I mean, to that point, I mean, not to speak for Dinesh, but I mean, his show, The Witcher, has Henry Cavill in Lincoln. I mean, so that kind of thing just sort of generates publicity for itself.
So if you can,
cast Superman.
but that's producing in every way, right? I mean, you don't have control of anything. You're not the writer, you're not the star, you don't control the purse strings. You don't control marketing, but a producer's job is to figure out a way to control that without really having the right to control it. So with Henry Cavill, yeah, you butter him up, you get him excited, and you say, you should tweet that, it's a great story. Look at that photo. You should post it on Instagram. You do the same thing with the network as well.
And we're still, I totally agree, we're still at a place in networks where they're not sure how to handle the social media of it all. You know, my philosophy with stuff is like, I wish everyone who worked on the movie and who was on set was like tweeting about it in real time. I have so many projects that are coming out in the next 2 years that are, a couple of them are going to be like crazy huge, and I wish I could tell people about them. I wish that the people involved in them could talk about it, but the network controls all of that, and so, you know, our hands are tied.
Right. Yeah, movies can have some people tweet behind the scenes images, the directors do that, the Russo brothers are really good at that. So they can do that in limited time, but yeah, otherwise you have to wait till it's released.
Yes and no. I mean, they definitely are scared of it. They definitely don't understand it. But the savvy stars do it anyway. The savvy directors do it anyway. And then you see how well it does, and they don't get angry. They say, don't do that again, and they do it again. And they're like, okay, that's great. Right? You have to bring them to the 21st century. They're not going to get there on their own.
All right, so as long as the directors and the actors don't F it up, then it's okay.
Well, but the fans are a big part of that too. On The Expanse, I mean, that show was canceled, and the fans went nuts and essentially forced that show back on the air and a better network with Amazon. I mean, the fans are doing the same thing the producers are. You got to get it to happen when you can.
Yeah, same with Lucifer on Netflix.
Right.
You know, there is one other trend that I'll mention is, you know, I do a lot of podcast adaptation, and I love those for a few reasons. One, I love to listen to podcasts. So it starts, you know, by being a fan, but one of the great things about podcasts is they have fans, and those fans have cell phones, and those fans generally are involved in social media. And podcast fans, as opposed to the typical fan of a YouTuber, will go and watch a show that's advertised. So like season 1 was largely carried on the back of podcast consumers of lore. And I think we have a show at Oxygen called Up and Vanish that's adapted from the podcast of the same name. And that as well, the fans of the podcast love the show, so that helps generate a lot of publicity through the podcast and that built-in audience.
I mean, this is pretty smart to take something with already a built-in audience and say, oh, there's already 50,000, 100,000, however many people listening to this podcast. We already have something that we know is a proven known quantity.
Yeah.
Easier to take a gamble on and easier to get word of mouth.
Totally.
Cool. Other questions from the audience? Yeah.
How does it affect?
He's the AV guy, he has his own mic.
How does it affect what devices your streaming apps go to? Like the DC Universe app is only available on certain things. You can't stream it on an Xbox or PlayStation, but Roku and so forth, and Amazon Fire. Does that have any kind of? Does that come to the equation for creators like yourselves?
I mean, it's distribution, right? So in other words, like, so DC Universe has to strike a deal with Xbox for the right to be streamed through the Xbox platform. They also have to probably build some additional technology because it's not run on iOS or whatever the Android platform is. So there's a tech cost behind there in the development and the administration of all that technology. But then also they need the rights for Xbox. Now, funny enough, the DC Universe app I think is only live in North America, or maybe it's just US and not even Canada. I'm not sure exactly, but they don't have worldwide rights on that, and that might also have something to do with why they're on limited devices. Like I know if you're in the UK or Australia or any other English-speaking country, you have to wait for those shows to wind up on Netflix, and I don't think you have access to the comics or the discounts on the merchandise. But short answer, they need to deal with Xbox, and maybe they just couldn't come to a deal that either side was happy with, and maybe all other platforms. DC is notorious for keeping things really close to the vest and wanting control over everything. Maybe they weren't granted that by these other tremendous companies like Sony with PlayStation or Microsoft and Xbox.
Let's ask, that's a good question, segue to the next question, which is, what devices do you watch most of your streaming on? How many people watch most of your streaming content on your phone?
So does that include like all TV series that you watch?
Yeah, a lot of my TV series do that. That or the Google.
The Chromecast?
Chromecast.
How about your laptop? Raise your hands. Laptop. Most of your streaming services on your laptop. Okay, a couple. All right, how about your computer? All right, home computer. Okay, go. How about your TV through some sort of over-the-top streaming? Okay, cool. Awesome. Your iPad or something larger than a standard cell phone. Okay, all right, so it sounds like TV is the number one, followed by the other devices as well. Your Xbox or PlayStation. All right, cool. So folks over there. Let's see. Have we covered everything? Your car? That's we don't have that yet.
That's music.
That's radio or Spotify. So. Your house? Not yet. Okay. All right. That's also fun too. All right. So as far as creating content with digital content, you can make the show as long as you want. You don't have the standard breaks of 42 minutes for an hour-long TV show, or 22 minutes for a half-hour TV show, or the limitations of 1 hour to 3 hours and 2 minutes for Avengers Endgame. So what?
I'm excited.
Everyone's going to see. So how does that affect the creation of your content? You're like, oh boy, I can just write whatever I want for as long as I want. Or you're used to the natural breaks or the arcs of regular scripted or regular content or traditional content.
Yeah, great question. I think it really kind of depends on the show and the point of view and the vision of the show. I personally am not a huge fan of commercials. And so we saw kind of a rhythm of how commercials affected writing in broadcast and cable television shows, because they were kind of written to anticipate when the commercials come in. So it's easy for writers to get into kind of gimmicky patterns to escalate to cliffhangers for each commercial. And I think, when I was 8 or 9 or 10 or 11, I didn't notice it, but as I got older, it started to bug me. You just feel, oh, all right, the commercial's coming. He's about to get his head chopped off. There's no way they're going to show this. So now I think when you see things in their original form, they're written without those kind of like cheap tricks. So it has allowed, I think, for better writing to make its way over to a lot of the shows that we've seen at streamers. I mean, I think that's why people love bingeable content. You can just put it on and watch it and not have to, see an ad for, whatever, Frosted Flakes or tampons.
Anyone else want to add to that?
I think it's great. I agree. I think it's great. Not only continue mess around with the time frame per episode, you can mess around with episode counts now. I'm hearing rumors of 3-episode seasons coming from big shows on Netflix. I think they're going to play with a lot of this stuff.
3 episodes?
Yeah.
What's got 3 episodes?
With TV, it used to be such an event, and it's not anymore because you can watch it anytime. And I think there's been this incredible land grab by Netflix by investing in bingeable content. But I'm really curious if Eventize, and he's talking about 3 episodes, if like we start to see different release patterns. Quibi is going to be releasing an episode a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I wouldn't be surprised if we see different programming techniques to try to generate more events around how content is consumed. I miss, like nowadays, if someone in here wasn't up on Game of Thrones, like we couldn't talk about it, right? Because we'd be spoiling it for everyone. And it used to be television was such a big event that everyone would watch it Friday at this time. And now, you have like a month to watch something. And then at a certain point, all your friends just say, fuck it, we're talking about it anyway.
All right, let's move on to live streaming, because live streaming is huge. Facebook launched Facebook Live.
Twitch.
Twitch is huge too. Twitch is
Thank you.
All right, we'll continue talking about Twitch, yeah. All right, so Twitch is huge.
They didn't wait for you?
Well, it's different shows.
Okay. So Twitch is huge. But in the past, like what? Everybody was at the TwitchCon in Long Beach, and the TwitchCon in San Diego, coming back to San Diego. You guys are going, right? TwitchCon?
Yeah.
All right, let's go to TwitchCon. All right, so TwitchCon is fun. It was amazing because there's so many different live streamers, and live streaming is completely different from regular, like,
it's
pre-recorded content. And studies show that when content is live or live streamed, the interaction, whether it's comments or shares, is like 2 to 3, sometimes 4 times higher than regular content because it's live, it's happening right then. And certain content does better than others. If it's performance or singing or something like that, that does very well. There's some Twitch shows that relate to cooking because some people want to watch cooking live because they can like interact. Anyway, it's a whole huge other thing, which I think we're only barely scratching the surface on because everyone's so used to pre-recorded content. It takes a different type of content creator to go to Twitch because a lot of actors are like, what? Live? I can't do that. I want to make sure that it's right. And directors are like, what? No, we got to make sure that everything was perfect. But Twitch folks and other YouTube live streamers and Facebook live streamers just go for it. So, what trends do you guys see in that live stream? Are you guys doing any live stream? Are you doing any experiments with that? And if not, we'll go to the audience and ask the audience.
We're doing, I can't really give all the details, but if you guys know who Alex Honnold is, I'm just a huge YouTube fan. YouTube is my favorite platform in the world by far. But Alex was featured in a movie called Free Solo that won the Academy Award for Best Doc this year. He climbs mountains. So we're doing a live event with the History Channel where he's going to climb something that is built by man.
Wait, this is that guy. Did you guys see the Free Solo documentary with that guy who climbed up this huge?
It sounds boring, right? If I told you to go watch a documentary about rock climbing, you're like, no thanks. This doc is insane. It won the Academy Award last year. This guy is an absolute psycho in the coolest way. I strongly recommend watching.
Capstone without a rope, like no rope and no wire down. Crazy.
So he's going to climb something that I can't tell you what it is, but it is not.
He's going to climb live.
But it's like some Spider-Man stuff that he's going to do. That we're doing live. And so there's been a trend in cable to like try to grab the live audience. I'd love to do more of it, and I'm trying to do more of it.
Okay.
Well, so, speaking of live, like one of the only things that people really have cable for anymore nowadays is typically sports, because sports is what's live.
Sports is live.
And like me personally, I'm not a sports guy, but I'm a big WWE fan. And for anyone who follows that, Fox just paid $1 billion for the rights to one of the WWE shows for 5 years or something like that. because it's live, because there is that, like you were saying, that urgency to like watch it when it's happening, because if you miss that, then you kind of miss everything that's going on. And I do think that outlets like such as Netflix, probably Disney, sorry to keep taking it back to you, but there's going to be more integration of second screen or ways for people to interact with what's going on as they're watching it or as it airs for the first time, because they're going to see, like you see what's going on with Twitch, and you just have to take a look at that and see how do we harness that in a slightly different way that works with the platforms that we have, and you will start seeing that. I mean, we're not even really like a platform necessarily like what Cinedigm does, but there's always talk about how do we integrate user interaction and commenting and just getting the fan base involved in what's going on. So whether it is, you know, live chat or just a message board or contests or giveaways or raffles or sweepstakes or codes, there's all these ways to get people involved, and because it's so competitive, that's going to be something that comes up to start giving someone a competitive edge.
So great startup idea, or if someone has a business idea, or somebody to create this platform that will accompany live streaming events that will engage communities, get people super talking beyond the simple chat, or I guess it's simple chat plus stats, plus data, plus talking to your friends about something, more than just the random comments that go on a Twitch live stream or YouTube comments. All right, so Twitch, who wants to talk about what's happening with Twitch? Let's get a little bit more detail on Twitch, and we have some real live Twitch folks in the audience. So you just stand up and say what the few trends are that you're seeing in Twitch. As a Twitch content creator, give a shout out to your channel.
So our channel is We Are Nerdsmith. We do a lot of tabletop RPG streams and things of that nature. That's become super, super big in the past 5 years.
Sweet.
Critical Role, it's been in the news lately. They raised over $8 million, and the campaign is still going for their Kickstarter to fund their first stream and adapt it into a more traditional video form, which is animation and everything. So it's just showing the power that a dedicated streaming fan base has that I've noticed. It's and two, esports, the rise of esports and e-tournaments, and just how that's become a big thing to the point where now actual sports teams and professional sports people are backing esports players and making their own leagues.
Right. Who here watches esports? All right, cool. So if y'all live in the LA area, I definitely encourage you to go to the Blizzard Arena over in Burbank. It's a lot of fun. Large esports arena where they play Overwatch and a bunch of those games. Then also this weekend on Sunday, there's a League of Legends LCS studio talent over at their studio over in Santa Monica, across from Riot Games, where League of Legends, which creates League of Legends. So if you live in LA, we have two large arenas because two large companies, Activision Blizzard and Riot Games, are based here. You should definitely check that out. It's amazing to see like all the fans get super excited as the game players are playing the game, and then they're tweeting along live as well, and live streaming and showing their friends that they're in the arena with the game players. It's super cool. How do you engage with your fans? And how do you know what games to talk about? Do they say, hey, we're on this tabletop game, or yeah, how do you figure that out?
I mean, yeah, there's definite trends like right now GameCube is super popular because of things like Critical Role, Hyper RPG Studios, Geek Center, things like that. So we know that, and we have created content to that. But we also have Discord servers. We engage on Twitter. I work as a moderator and our community manager, so I interact a lot with our fans. I'm like, guys, what do you want to see? Tell us what you want. Like a lot of our fans are like, hey, we want to see cool cosplay things. You want to see, more board games. You want to see this, and we're working. When we get that fan feedback, we're like, okay, and we bring it to our content creators and like, hey, who's got an idea for this? Let's go and start producing and start going and running.
Awesome. So your community manager for your online, that's related to your online committee or your show, whatever, just ask them what they want to see. You can do that with polls, you can do that by just asking questions. There's a bunch of ways to try to figure out what the next content should be. By the way, I'm doing a digital ed panel with Studio 71, which is the multi-channel network that works with YouTube influencers to create shows based on games. And we're doing a panel on the Binding of Isaac in April, which is Binding of Isaac 4 Souls. So anyway, and they're going to talk about how they use Kickstarter to basically generate money to fund the games so they got to produce this board game, which is a lot bigger than the influencers are doing to merchandise what they do. So anyway, yeah, all right, cool. Anybody else? All right, are there any esports folks here? Any esports players or people who work at an esports company? All right, cool. So you mentioned esports is big, so esports is another large trend, which we're talking about. So definitely go check out one of the arenas if you live in the LA area. And if you don't, you can just watch any of the streams on Twitch or other platforms. Other questions?
Let's go over here. You do first.
You see that?
Great extensions.
Going back to what we talked about earlier, like the whole choose, like just about like Reddit in general, like each subreddit is basically what you're talking about this point. So all the people talking about what shows that they want. That's kind of what it is.
True. True. Yeah. If you're in the digital space or content space, definitely just go to Reddit because people are already talking about your show. Whether you thought you created a community or not, they're already talking about it. There's very, very deep threads with very, very much passion. So a lot of people forget that Reddit is, people are talking about this stuff all the time, every day. And if you want, you can actually, I met some people on Reddit at South by Southwest Party, and they wanted this new service where they are selling ads on Reddit. Or they're way, not exactly, but
They better not ruin it.
they're offering services to help promote somebody's show among Reddit people. They didn't exactly tell me what was.
That whole thing sounded really dirty. You met some people on Reddit at South by Southwest and they're offering services.
I met some people who work at Reddit.
We don't judge.
Oh, sorry.
These are people who work at Reddit who were telling me that Reddit's going to be offering some sort of new advertising services so that publishers who have something they want to promote on Reddit.
I reached out to Reddit. I've met with them a few times about creating some shows based off subreddits.
Oh yeah?
And they passed. But I wanted to create a show around shower thoughts, if you know that one, and a handful of others. So if you have any ones that you think I should pursue, I will bully them. Just tell me the ones you love.
Next question. Can you get that?
So about standing out among, like, there's so much content now, have you seen, like, trends either, like, playing it more safe, or, like, to get approved, or by trying to diversify in terms of representation in front of...
I think most people are playing it safe, because where there's such a land grab right now, like when I was a kid, I used to try to watch HBO because you might see and that was like, you know, I wasn't allowed to watch it, so you would like put it on in the other room and like walk by and hope, you know, you would as a teenager you would see something. And recently with the acquisition of HBO, they've taken off all the late night stuff. So they used to have shows. There's maybe people under 18. They used to have shows called Real SEX. They took all that stuff off of their platform. And I think we've seen less and less kind of adult programming around a lot of Netflix, HBO. There's very few things really for adult audiences as we move ahead. So I don't know if you mean literal in that sense. Beyond that, I think what I was trying to say earlier is that there's like much less risk going to be taken moving ahead because all the decisions are going to be made by data. So it makes it harder for programmers to say like, I know there's only, you know, it's like when you're casting a TV show. It used to be like, this actor is incredible, they're amazing. Nowadays they're like, how much of a social media reach do they have? So it becomes less about someone's talent and more about the influence that they have socially. So there's less risk taken, I think, creatively, and will be less moving ahead unless somebody figures it out.
I don't know, I see the opposite. I'm seeing a lot of diversity. See a lot of nudity on Netflix. Naomi, from Stranger Comics just got picked up. It's great to see her at HBO. Pure diversity play. A lot of the stuff that Netflix has put out in the last 6 weeks or so, they're moving towards MA kind of material. I think it might just be that Netflix is so broad it's doing both. So in your world, you're seeing this contraction into the more traditional and safe. I'm certainly seeing the opposite. It's running towards all that stuff.
Yeah, I hope that continues. I mean, when I talk to them, they don't tell me that, but you see some things slip through, like that Molly Crew thing that just came out the other day. It had some adult stuff. I think, you know, it all depends on how, certainly I don't like censorship, so I'm all for it.
Yeah, there was a Netflix show, Napoli Ever After. I don't know if you've heard of that show, but there was a friend of mine actually is a big producer of it.
What's it called?
It's called Napoli Ever After. It's a story about an African-American woman who decides to shave her hair because she's just tired of her hair, and she just had a breakup with the guy. And anyway, as a result, she wanted to become a new person. She shaved her hair off. It's resonated very well with African-American audiences because there's a relationship that many African-Americans have with their hair and what it means. And whether it should be straight natural or stage or whatever. So she actually her show got a BET award, which she just posted about on social media. So it's coming down.
I just want to say,
sorry, a NAACP award for its portrayal of representation of this issue, which people deal with every day, but it's never talked about. And that came from a Netflix show. So that's an example of how news stories are being told thanks to these new platforms.
if the question about risk wasn't related to content, but more just about the space in general, I think there's a lot of risk going on altogether to enter into the space of streaming in any way, like through Twitch. There's multiple Twitch competitors who are coming up, like trying to, grab market share. There's definitely no guarantee that like someone's gonna come up and actually be able to beat Twitch at their own game. Someone like a Disney Plus, sorry to go back to that, that's a lot less risk, than someone else coming into the space because they have tons of proven content that people will buy multiple times over and over and over again, so it's a pretty safe play. But Google and Apple, I believe, both just entered the market space for streaming video game services, right? So now they're going to be competing with, let's say, a Humble Bundle who already has 500,000 subscribers for video game services. There's other services out there that,
what's it called?
Humble Bundle.
Humble Bundle.
Yeah, so we'll talk after. But yeah, and streaming music services, for example, like Tidal, it was definitely a risk. Does anybody subscribe to Tidal? Hands up. Do you really?
Quality's great. It's always streaming.
I can't tell if you're being serious.
I'm serious.
You have Tidal?
There's more than ever do.
Yeah.
Why?
My wife likes Spotify. I like Tidal.
Oh my God.
Welcome to the wonder world.
And for any other company, and so many times, we're in I'll say a not sexy sector of streaming right now in distribution. It's not, as big, we're not a Netflix, we don't have the name talent or anything like that. But there are people coming to us all the time looking to get into OTT and streaming, and part of you just wants to be like, why are you doing this? There's no way for you to break through all this noise right now. But there is a lot of risk that people are taking in order to sort of try to be a player in the field.
So there's new startups that are in streaming services too that are happening that are reaching diverse audiences. That they are realize that there's not enough more content that they want to see on a Netflix, so they're just creating their own. A friend of mine started a company called Reverie, which specializes only in LGBT content. So
What's it called, Reverie?
Reverie, R-E-V-R-Y. It's only LGBT content, that's all they care about, and they want to make sure they not just have the gay stuff, but they also want to have lesbian stories, they want to have queer stories and trans stories, because those often get forgotten too. So, real quick. Okay.
Last question.
Last question.
We're going to wrap it up.
We're getting in the room.
So it's kind of more of a, back to the topic of content formatting, when we're talking about timing of episodes being slightly different, or the idea of renewal being a little more uncertain as a show continues on. Do you see or anticipate any transition to maybe, a lot of my television viewing background is like British television, where sometimes it's mini-series, or plans for only a show to exist for 2 seasons at all. Do you see maybe that being a trend, that maybe that's a slightly more safer format, maybe a platform not necessarily trying to hold on to audiences for an extended period of time, but being a place where you go for a special event sort of series?
Amazon has a department literally called the Event Series Department, and it's the largest department in Amazon television, so it's something that's certainly happening.
And there's BritBox too, if you're unfamiliar with BritBox. Okay.
It is, I would say, for those though, like on cable, for instance, cablers, like Shark Week, right, for Discovery is in some ways a mini-series, right? It happens once a week. So Shark Week pays for almost the entire network because the ratings are so high, so ad rates go up, that allows them to, pay for the next whatever it is that they have on their air. Though traditional miniseries, people usually don't like them. Like if I go, so basically what I do all day is meet with television networks and try to sell them TV shows. So they're constantly telling me like, hey, we want this, or hey, we don't want that, or hey, this trend is happening right now, or hey, this guy told me this while we were eating cupcakes, so change your idea or whatever, So one of the things that they will all tell you is they want series that will run for hundreds of episodes. it's much harder for them to sell ads around things and make money if they're like in really short, limited releases. So there is always a place for it. And I'm really curious, with Amazon and places like that, and how much they invest in it. I think it's a way to, miniseries have often historically been kind of like backdoor pilots, a way to test the audience, if you will. I think we'll always see that trend to some degree, because Netflix, how they buy for the most part, is in all straight to series. So in broadcast and on cable, you'll see pilots. On Netflix, you really don't for the most part. And miniseries are a way to kind of pilot a series to see if there's an audience.
Awesome. Well, thank you, audience, for great questions today. Super amazing and engaging. You guys are super awesome. Thank you, our panelists. Thank you for having applause. Thank you for so you guys enjoy the rest of your WinterCon. Have an amazing time. And if you want to stop by our digital light party over at Coast Anaheim at 9 p.m., after over there and go set up for that. It's room 5251. So check that out. Cool. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good rest of your WinterCon.